What are the America's true long-term objective here? Is this really about nuclear weapons, or is there a bigger game being played? Your comments, sir.
So definitely containing Iran was one issue, but there's something else that is also going on. By curtailing supply of hydrocarbons to China, initially from Venezuela and now from Iran, is the target not China? That you are trying to starve a rising hegemon who challenges the supremacy of United States as the reigning hegemon by shrinking gradually its sources of hydrocarbons. So some people say that ultimate aim is actually China. Goal is China, containment of China.
Welcome, Dr. Adityanjee. Welcome to Global Focus once again. In the West Asia crisis, this shows no end. So I am going directly to this scenario. What is actually happening in West Asia? I have two questions. Why did the US and Israel actually go to war with Iran? And what was the real trigger beyond what the headlines tell us? And my second question to you, what are the America's true long-term objective here? Is this really about nuclear weapons, or is there a bigger game being played? Your comments, sir.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Mr. Sinha, for inviting me on your platform, Global Focus. And we have discussed the West Asia war several times
Yes, sir.
as it is progressing or evolving or ceasefiring or deliberating negotiations or giving
Yeah,
chance to
yeah,
diplomacy.
yeah.
We have seen it all.
Hmm.
Uh, so issue is that why did Israel and United States jointly attack Iran? Well, they did it last year also in June. It was the same ruse. For 12 days there was a war. Israel and United States pounded the Iranian uranium enrichment facilities and stated that the nuclear program has been decimated.
Yes.
Everything has been bombed by MOABs, the mother of all bombs or bunker buster bombs,
Yes, sir.
both Natanz and Fordo uranium enrichment plants.
Hmm.
So either they were telling lies at that point in time that their capability has been decimated, or they are telling lie at this point in time. At least in 1 year's or almost just even 10 months' time, you have to go back and attack that particular country. Now, are the objectives in synchrony, or either of the party has different objectives? Israel versus United States.
Yes, sir.
And some strategic experts say that maybe it is a question of tail wagging the dog. Maybe it was in interest of Benjamin Netanyahu or Israel led by Benjamin Netanyahu to attack Iran. And in that process, he unduly influenced an impulsive, not so politically inclined politician.
Hmm.
It has happened before. We know that George W. Bush was influenced by Dick Cheney to start wars in Iraq,
Yeah.
the second war in Iraq. Probably left to himself, George W. Bush may not have started, but there was some influence by a neocon factor, and he got sucked into it. So there is some speculation that United States got sucked into it because of an impulsive politician who heads the US administration. And at this point in time, their objectives are different. Benjamin Netanyahu wants to decimate Iran for whatever reason because of existential threat Iran poses to Israel. And they've been open about it. They've said, yes, they want the end of the Zionist entity. But Iran as such, under the current scenario, was not posing a threat to United States to the extent it posed to Israel. So this war may have been a war of choice, war of convenience by United States, because somebody got seduced into using United States firepower to attack Iran. So that is one aspect. Your second question is, what is in the long-term objective of United States, whether it's to denuclearize Iran or there's something else going on?
Correct, sir.
Uh, if the goal was just to denuclearize Iran, what about the strikes that happened in June of 2025?
Right.
Come back to the same issue. When you say that the program has been decimated, when Director of National Intelligence, former Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard says that US intelligence community has no evidence that Iran was reconstituting its nuclear weapons program
Okay.
or it was imminent in developing a nuclear weapon, and for all you know,
Mm.
that the former or the dead Ayatollah had given a fatwa that Islamic regime is against the concept of nuclear weapons and forbade the scientists from developing the nuclear weapon, although they were enriching. So, definitely containing Iran was one issue, but there's something else that is also going on. By curtailing supply of hydrocarbons to China,
Mm.
initially from Venezuela and
Mm.
now from Iran, is the target not China? That you are trying to starve
Mm.
a rising hegemon
Mm.
who challenges the supremacy of United States as the reigning hegemon
Mm.
by shrinking
Mm.
gradually its sources of hydrocarbons. So some people say that ultimate aim is actually China. Goal is China, containment of China by one reason or the other. And in fact, the US president has said very happily that we are making a lot of money because the price of oil has gone up and American companies are making money. Price is universal.
Oh, I have one very interesting question on my mind. This is a bit off track, but
Hmm.
I say about all the countries, all the political leaders who are leading their country, their nation. The leaders spend so much time just to put at the disadvantaged states to other countries and gain something. How do they find time to just uplift their own people?
Look, are you indicating towards a particular country?
Not particular country. I'm talking about all the countries. I'm talking about geopolitics actually.
Well, uh, part of it is to, develop, do development in your own country, but also the other part is to sort of contain your adversaries. Now, there has to be a healthy balance in that. And sometimes there is no balance in that. As we are witnessing right now, I would not name the names. Uh, so sometimes it is folly. It's a Himalayan blunder that you are doing, and it is leading to decline of your own nation, your
Yeah,
own actions.
yeah.
So that is an error of judgment, critical error of judgment.
Coming to the economic earthquake, the world feels. The Strait of Hormuz carries a quarter of the world's oil. Iran has used it as a weapon in this war. Even after the deal is signed, can the world ever fully trust this choke point again? And my second question is, China has been very quiet during this war, yet it imports massive amounts of oil through the strait. Is Beijing secretly the biggest winner of this entire conflict?
So both are complex questions, and answers are somewhat interrelated. But so in last 50 years, any US administration, when they did war games, simulations and scenarios, every administration came to the conclusion that in case of attack on Iran, Strait of Hormuz choke point would be weaponized. It is unfathomable why the current administration did not take that into consideration. Again, it is impulsivity, brashness, belligerence without thinking. It was bound to happen, and it has happened. Will the world go back to previous status quo ante? Probably not. There's a new reality now, and there's no resolution. Yes, there's demand that, a way of ending the war is that Strait of Hormuz goes back to the previous free flow of mercantile vessels and oil tankers or VLCCs.
Yeah,
That has become a goal for ending the war. It was not there to begin with. The war created this. So we are going to see somewhat of a different situation. What that situation is, that we can only speculate at this point in time because no final agreement has been concretely defined. But the past reality is gone. That has been shattered. And now there is a joint proposal from Oman and Iran to create Persian Gulf Strait Authority
mm,
that will jointly monitor the movement of vessels and will charge a user fee.
yeah, because that's what I was going to say. Because this war, no matter what was the objective and what was the interest of the country to start this war, but this is going to be have a very long-term effect on the global trade.
Well, the geopolitical dynamics has been altered by this war. And despite the bravado displayed by the US administration, they have not been able to enter the Strait of Hormuz themselves. They've done an Iranian blockade by stationing, stationing, stationing the US naval assets in Gulf of Oman, but
Mm,
they dare not enter the Strait of Hormuz because they will be under attack.
yeah,
You can say that we destroyed the Iranian navy, all the 168 ships are sunk to the bottom. Iran's old, decrepit air force has been eliminated. But it is an asymmetric warfare that forced actually United States aircraft carriers to move thousands of miles away from Iran, from Strait of Hormuz, because they were under attack. So US is not a resident naval power in that region. Iran is, and in a long-term conflict or in a long-term hostile scenario, there will be a limit to what US naval power can do. So the dynamics has altered. It will not be free flow of container ships, VLCCs, or any other kind of movement through Strait of Hormuz. That is the first part of
Mhm.
answer to your question.
Yes, right.
Your second question was why China is silent. Well, if they make any noise, it does not matter. Does it matter to US or Israel? They will continue to do what they are doing. So Chinese, in their typical way, are just waiting patiently while they are giving support, not just verbal, not just moral support, but also material support to Iran. Iran has weapons of Chinese origin. Iran has missiles of Chinese origin, and it is stated that it was a shoulder fired missile of Chinese origin that brought down an American F-15E.
I see.
And they also have Chinese origin missile shield. So, yes, they are being affected, but China probably had factored into likelihood of this war after June 2025 conflict. So, yes, their energy sources are affected, but they have large petroleum reserves. And my guess is that they will keep watching this silently. They don't want to be directly involved in the war, but they are providing material support to Iran. Now, who will be the ultimate winner? Probably not one, more than one. I can tell you the countries that are making money are Russia and United States,
I see.
but US economy is adversely being affected despite the oil multinationals, oil majors making money. The common person on the gas pump is paying more. There is increased inflation, and that is going to affect the US economy. So, despite tactical gains, strategically, US will be a loser. Strategically, by just engineering their own survival, despite heavy losses and economic decline, Iran will redefine victory as their existence or continued existence or survival. China will emerge as a strategic winner of this conflict because China is the rising hegemon. They are conserving their energies. They are not frittering away their energies on useless conflicts and wars, whereas US is. To the extent that they have depleted all their ammunition. That's why this charade of ongoing ceasefire and threats of eliminating the civilization overnight and repeated extensions of ceasefire, which Iran says that we have not asked for, on grounds that Pakistan asked it, or Oman asked it, or Saudi Arabia asked it, or UAE asked it. So that tells you who is in the weaker position. This war is a self inflicted wound by the reigning superpower, as it is led by inexperienced businessmen who
Yes.
do not understand geopolitics.
And if the Iran emerges as a winner and redefines itself, it will be a stronger and it will more evil to the world. because it has been supporting terrorism around, at least in the Middle East.
So there are two caveats to that. First, you see what happened in January of 2026. There was a spontaneous uprising in Iran by the civil society led by women
Yeah.
who were shedding their chador or burqa or naqab, whatever you call.
Mm.
The Islamic regime ruthlessly killed 40,000 Iranians. Iranians were coming out not just against the regime,
Mm.
but also against the oppressive system introduced by Islam.
Yeah.
And they were kind of giving up Islam, becoming ex Muslims or adopting maybe Zoroastrianism, going to pre Islamic Persia in their thinking and all.
Mm.
This war stopped that totally. And now, by attacking the nation of Iran, and I am not talking about Islamic regime of Iran, they have created what is called rallying to the flag. When you say that we will, destroy each and every bridge, every power station, the civilization will be annihilated. It creates not just a reaction in the regime, but also in the common people. And that has led to hardening of nationalistic attitudes amongst Iranians, even if they were not supporters of the Islamic regime. So, stupidly, the war against Iran has led to contradictory results because both Bibi Netanyahu and Donald Trump had said that within a week of this war, Iranian people will revolt against their regime and they will install another government. That didn't happen. So, strategically, despite killing of the Ayatollah and 49 top senior leaders, including defense minister and head of the IRGC and speaker of the parliament, Ali Larjani, the remnant of Islamic regime have become more hardline. So despite their losses, their survival and entrenchment means long-term strategic victory for the Islamic regime, which is unfortunate. Now, as far as the issue of nuclear weapons and all that sort of thing, and support to terrorism, there's a lot of hypocrisy because you know which country is the fountainhead of terrorism. That is a country by name Jihadistan or Pakistan.
Yeah.
That is a country that did a lot of nuclear proliferation in the region.
Mm.
In any terror attacks, the footprints always led to Pakistan. Pakistan is not being hauled to coal. So there are selectively highlighting the concerns about A, export of terrorism, and B, nuclear proliferation, which Pakistan is more guilty of than Iran.
Correct.
Not that I condone of what Iran was doing, but Pakistan has done it much more brazenly, and yet it is the lapdog.
So now I am coming to the diplomatic chess game. Pakistan's army chief has been sitting at the negotiating table as a peace broker between the US and Iran. What does that tell us about Pakistan's new rule and what should India make of this? And the second question to you, the original Iran nuclear deal, the JCPOA, collapsed years ago, and that failure brought us here. If a new nuclear agreement is reached, what would we actually look like? And can it be trusted to hold this time?
So, totally separate questions. It is not part A or B, they are totally separate questions. One thing I strongly contest is that Asim Munir is a negotiator. No, he is not a negotiator. He is not a mediator. He is not an interlocutor. He is just a messenger. He is just a postman who is shuttling from one city to the other city. He
Mm.
carries no leverage. Let me put it this way.
Yeah.
He carries no leverage. He's being used as a, you know, useful idiot by the United States to cover their anatomy. That's all. I mean, just think of on request from Pakistan, they are extending the ceasefire. What leverage does Pakistan have? And Iranians, despite engaging Asim Munir or his minions, are very contemptuous of him. And they are the ones who are saying this guy is just a messenger. And if he were a negotiator, why we are having this charade of negotiations? Because every day there is a statement on social media from president of a country that we are just around signing the final deal. I just have to make this sure or make that sure. It's been more than 3 months.
Yeah.
It's been more than 3 months, and there's no agreement. What are the main points? So to say that Pakistan is a negotiator or Asim Munir is a negotiator, I think it is very, very far-fetched thing. Yes, Pakistan is trying to make hay while the sun shines
Mm.
by, boosting ego of Donald J. Trump by repeatedly nominating him for Nobel Peace Prize. Uh, they have basically, you know, boosted the ego of the leader of United States. So they are trying to sort of, get rewards for that by this quote unquote prominent international situation they are in. But they have no leverage with either of the country. They are just messengers and they don't carry any weight. So that is one aspect of it.
The second is the
You
nuclear deal.
talked about JCPOA.
Yeah.
JCPOA did not unravel. JCPOA was working very fine. It was a multilaterally negotiated agreement on which there were six parties. So there were P5 and there was Iran, but there was another party that was Germany, that is not a member of P5. And they had used IAEA to have monitoring inspections. And Iran was adhering to it. And United States had certified repeatedly that Iran is adhering to it. IAEA had certified that Iran was adhering to it. The problem was for Bibi Netanyahu, who was not happy with that arrangement. And in 2017, 2018, he persuaded Donald Trump to walk away from that agreement. And when United States unilaterally reneged on that agreement, there was no agreement left. Because if United States is not following that agreement, it is naive to assume that Iran will follow the agreement. So under that agreement, there were limits to how much uranium enrichment Iran can do. So ultimately, by walking away from JCPOA, United States actually hurt its own strategic objectives because that gave a window of time to Iran to do uranium enrichment to the tune of 60% from 5% that was agreed upon in JCPOA. So the fault, my dear, lies with whom? The party that walked away from JCPOA. I don't
Yeah.
need to tell you which party walked away from that. But the jealousy that it was one particular person who took the credit for that JCPOA agreement was not palatable to the next leader of the country. And just out of jealousy, he walked away from that without realizing the consequences. Right now, the nuclear issue is on the back burner. Right now, there's ceasefire, and the main issue that is being talked about is how to open the Strait of Hormuz. Tells you the stupidity, strategic stupidity of the United States.
Once if Iran succeeds charging fees for passing the ships from the Strait of Hormuz, then the world around every country will do, whoever is there. And that legally, as per the international law, can Iran charge the fees?
So, what international law you are talking about? That is number one.
That way, we should, is this within the jurisdiction of Iran? Like we see 200 miles, nautical miles from the shore. Uh,
It lies in their exclusive economic zone, but it is an international passageway.
hmm,
So, they are not charging a toll. They are saying that we are charging user fee because we provide the guidance, we
hmm,
provide the assistance, we provide the safety issues in that
hmm,
narrow passage.
hmm,
So if there is a passage from Suez Canal or
hmm,
Panama Canal,
hmm.
people have to pay user fee.
I see.
You don't pass through those passageways free of cost
I see.
because the countries that are hosting those waterways for international commerce,
Hmm.
they charge a substantial amount of fee. So what Oman and Iran are now saying that we will charge the fee because although yes there's a right of international passageway, but
Hmm.
it falls under our, I mean it's only 34 miles, 17 miles for each. That is within their actually maritime zone, not even in exclusive economic zone.
Hmm.
So you need to understand, and when you say international law, the only international law about maritime issues is UNCLOS. Has United States ratified UNCLOS? Has Iran ratified UNCLOS? Ask the question. If
Hmm.
you have not ratified it, you are not a party to it. Then you cannot talk about international law. Either you become a party first, then make a song and dance sequence about the international law. But if you're not a party to it, you cannot enforce it.
Well, so I have 7 minutes. Now I have got two, three questions only. No. Okay. I have three more questions.
Go ahead.
So now we are coming to India in the future. India has stayed officially neutral in this war,
Hmm.
even as it faces an energy crisis at home because of the state closure. Is India's silence a smart strategic move, or is it sitting on the fence at a moment that demands a clear stand? And the second question is, what does India fit? Where does India fit in America's vision of global leadership going forward? And does Washington actually see India as a partner or just as a useful card to play against China?
Again, these are separate questions which require elaborate answers, but I'll try to briefly answer because the time is
Yeah,
less.
yeah. We have 6.5 minutes only.
So, regarding the first question, India being fence sitter or silent spectator, what should India do? It's not India's war. It's not a war of India's making.
Right.
The parties that have started this war are responsible for conclusion of this war, and return of status quo ante. India has just made a statement that they do not want the hostilities to continue, and they have requested all parties to, refrain from continued hostilities. This was not a war of necessity, and it does not serve India's purpose to align with one party or the other, despite having individually good and friendly relations with all the three nations that are involved in this war,
Right.
individually. Okay. So India is doing the right thing by not making any issue or public display of any emotions, because from India's perspective, this war is not necessary. About the second thing, where India fits in US's vision, why should India bother about US's vision? India needs to talk about her own vision, her own worldview, and find her own place in the global platform in the community of nations, and not try to fit into any nation's, any country's expectations or role. That would be my blunt answer.
What about the India's role in the US vision actually for the global leadership?
This is again I'm trying to tell you. US may have its own vision, China may have its own vision, Pakistan has its own vision, India does not have to fit into their visions. India needs to have her own vision and shape India's destiny according to India's her own vision, and role in the community of nations accordingly.
So I'm coming to my final question. When the dust settles on this war, who do you think is the ultimate loser? And what does the world look like on the other side of it? So I think the answer is obvious.
Yeah, I think the answer is very obvious. In fact, the answer was given to Donald J. Trump when he traveled to Beijing, when Xi Jinping told him to his face that United States is in an economic decline, and the challenge is how to manage the Thucydides trap without getting into an active war. That was a blunt message by Xi Jinping to Donald J. Trump. So the answer is very obvious. Who is the going to be the long-term winner and who's going to be the long-term loser, despite having massive military muscle, massive military power. But when you squander your advantage away
Yeah.
in useless conflicts at the behest of another country, because the leader of that country has some influence on you, I think you see the results.
Yes.
So I don't have to declare who's going to be the winner, who is going to be the loser. It's for the entire world to see, because history is being created, and people who are chronicling the contemporary history will have these data points into their analysis, and time will tell who is the loser, who is the winner, but we know already that.
So thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your time. That was a master class in reading the real map of the world. If this conversation made you think, share the video with someone who needs to hear it. So thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Sinha, for inviting me on Global Focus. I hope today is May 30th, 2026.
Yeah.
I hope people watch it again on May 30th, 2027. Then some of the conclusions would be apparent.